So, welcome back to the Young Professionals podcast, and this is actually one of the podcasts that I've been so excited for. Today we're actually here with Brown Jacobson with 3 of their solicitor apprentices, and all 3 of you actually came through Young Professionals, so it's really, really great to kind of have you on a full circle, kind of being a Young Professionals student and now working as a solicitor apprenticeship at Brown Jacobson. So, today we're here with Tanya, Gaveena and Daljit, so welcome to the show and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so I thought maybe we'll jump straight into it. It would be great to kind of talk a little bit about who you are, what you do at Brown Jacobson, to kind of kick things off. So Daljit, we'll start with yourself.
So I'm a first year solicitor apprentice and I work in the Resi team in real estate and I'm based in the Birmingham office. So primarily my day consists of drafting, updating clients, handling payments and processing different matters to completions.
Okay, no, that's great. Gaveena?
Yeah, I'm in the property litigation team. I'm a first year solicitor apprentice as well. My day usually consists of drafting notices, calling the court, chasing up on, extension letters. I mean, every day is different for me as well, yeah.
I'm Tanya Somanna, so I'm a first year solicitor apprentice as well in corporate real estate. So I'm on the transactional side of real estate and I prefer property finance, so that involves a lot of work with the banks and their property work, so yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, that's great. And look, thank you so much for joining us on the show here. And I think one of the really exciting things is that you're on one of these solicitor apprenticeship programs. So I know that a lot of young people at home will be thinking about, do they go off to university, do they do an apprenticeship? But it'd be great to kind of talk a little bit about what is a solicitor apprenticeship and why did you guys choose to do one?
So solicitor apprenticeship, it integrates 2 component elements. So the practical side, so we all work full time, and we also study part time. So with the University of Law, so we'll typically have 1 study day a week. We get our university work done. We work towards the LLB, and then the final 2 years we work towards the SQE in what is essentially the trainee element of the apprenticeship. I don't know if you want to take that on.
Yeah, so the other part of it is that if you were to do the traditional route and go into university, you might have financial concerns or about getting into debt and how you're going to get in a training contract like Daljit mentioned. So those concerns are a little bit alleviated with the apprenticeship programme because the firm takes care of it and they also pay you a wage, so there's a great aspect there as well. So yeah. I think financially it's a huge weight off your shoulders and I'm sure it is for a lot of students as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know that at the start you said that a couple of you are from the Birmingham office, one of you is from the Nottingham office. I think a lot of young people have this misconception to do a solicitor apprenticeship, you've got to be in the London city kind of law firms, but it's great that actually you're all kind of locally spread across the country. So how did you find out about this solicitor apprenticeship programme? Because I know that they are typically quite hard to come by. A lot of young people might not necessarily know where to find them. And I also know that you're all part of the Young Professionals Network. So it'll be great to kind of maybe think back when you were at school, how you kind of came to hear about it.
Well, I could go. So I actually didn't know what a solicitor apprenticeship is up until obviously I was subscribed to the Young Professionals newsletter and it came across on that one that I should if I'm confused about which path I'm going to go on after A-levels, then I could perhaps look into this. And because I knew I wanted to do law, I knew I wanted to study the law, I just didn't know how I'd go about it because I know it's a very competitive field. So the best thing ever was that I found the opportunity to start applying for different apprenticeships, and Brown Jacobson stood out very much so. And yeah, rest is history.
Yeah, no, and I guess on that, what was the key thing that stood out to you with Brown Jacobson?
I think, like I was actually mentioning before with a couple of friends, it's that our firm is one of the firms that had the apprenticeship programme for a while now. So I know that a lot of firms are increasingly, getting the apprenticeship programme involved into their new starters and new careers programme. But with our firm, so with Brown Jacobson, I know that they've had the apprenticeship programme for a while, and it's quite helpful knowing that they've had that because they've finally managed to come up with a system that actually really works for us because they really cater to us and they've built a very comfortable and nurturing environment, which I think really helps. And I know they work very closely with young professionals. So I think in terms of communicating and making sure there's no such hierarchy that you can't actually access certain things within the firm, that's not the case with Brown Jacobson. So I'm quite happy here.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's great to kind of hear your story. And I guess Gaveena and Daljit, you also came to some actually in-person events, didn't you, where you found out about the programme?
Yeah, well, mine was initially through the a law conference meeting. So there was quite a few firms. I took this in year 12, where I was trying to gain work experience in law in general, and I came across the law conference meeting. And I was like, it looks interesting. I mean, there's going to be different law firms there, and going into it, I did not know what apprenticeships were at all. I had no idea what they offered. I mean, I heard the word being thrown about here and there, but not really in detail what they were. And Brown Jacobson were speakers for that conference, and when I heard what the apprenticeship was from them, I knew that, okay, this is something that I think I'll be interested in, because I'm a very big practical worker. I like to work and I learn practically. I like to carry out tasks and see people carry out tasks. So when Brown Jacobson said they do this solicitor apprenticeship, I knew straight away it's something that I think would adhere to my needs and how I think I would actually thrive as a solicitor and work in law. So, and I mean, through young professionals, it was very like, I was really happy about it, because it was my first event as well with young professionals. Again, I was subscribed to the email list, so that's how I also found out about it too. And I try and talk about it as well when I'm talking to other people about apprenticeships, you know, like that it offers you so much more than what I guess a uni course would. I mean, it is up to whoever, like what adheres to each person, but you gain such a practical experience within the time. It's invaluable compared to what you would get elsewhere. So no,
I guess finally Daljit.
Well, I suppose my journey sort of started when I was in secondary school, and I was like really finding it hard as someone who's 15, obviously not the legal working age, to find some sort of legal work experience. And my school referred me to young professionals. So you'd done, I think it was a 2-day online seminar with Brown Jacobson and several other firms. And then that snowballed on. And when I was in sixth form, I went to a live networking event on the University of Law campus, where a representative from the firm was there, who then referred me to do work experience at the firm, which was sort of like a gateway into getting my apprenticeship, because I used it a lot in my interviews. So I sort of think of that original moment when I was in secondary school as like a butterfly moment for myself. I think with the apprenticeship, the reason why it really appealed to me was just in practicality. As a newly qualified solicitor, as an employer, who will you pick? Will you pick someone with 2 years of trainee experience, or will you pick someone with 6 years of solicitor experience? You know, you do 6 years of anything, you'll be pretty good at it. So imagine what a 6-year apprentices can do.
No, absolutely. And I think like the key kind of theme I'm getting here is that a lot of young people need to sign up to events, put themselves out there, because you guys probably wouldn't have heard about Brown Jacobson if you hadn't have just put yourself out there and kind of applied to these sort of careers events that we were putting on.
Definitely.
But I mean, what is it like being a solicitor apprenticeship or being a solicitor apprentice within Brown Jacobson? What sort of things are you working on? It'll be great to kind of hear kind of your day-to-day, I guess.
I suppose it is challenging, but it's incredibly rewarding. Like, your day has purpose, you interact with real people. The work that you do within certain teams has an effect on real life people, just regular people who want to remortgage their house, they want to own their house for the first time. You feel a sort of sense of you're doing something greater for society. But I'd also say the work-life balance, everyone will find it difficult in the beginning, but you really adapt to it and it makes you more responsible. You know, I entered the firm when I was like 17, and now I sort of just feel like an adult. It helps you mature in a personal way. I
mean, definitely, like starting at the firm, you'd have expectations of, okay, this is what I'm going to do to be organised, and this is how I'm going to do my uni work. But it gets to a point where you feel like, oh, I didn't know I was going to handle this type of work, or I didn't know my uni work was going to be like this. So it's you do have to adapt to it as you go along, but I think that's a skill that you learn along the way as well, which is quite a very good skill to have just in general as well, carrying out day-to-day day-to-day tasks and things, like organising yourself. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I do think it's quite an interesting experience, because each apprentice, just like any trainee would, during their training contract, would get a certain amount of months in a particular seat. So right now I'm in corporate real estate, and I think, you know, when I joined the firm, I didn't know a thing about real estate, and I really was quite concerned that, I don't know, I like the idea of the law, but I don't know what I'm getting into. And it is very different, practical sense, to the theory we learn at university. So I didn't know what exactly I signed myself up for when I heard that I got put into corporate real estate. But honestly, 6 months in, and I do truly feel like, okay, maybe I do see this as a potential seat where I'd qualify, because I do think it's quite interesting. Every day you interact with these big brands that you see on the high street, and then you're like, oh my God, I actually did a lease for them, or I actually helped get them a car parking license. And it's like, oh, it just feels really surreal sometimes, because you don't feel like, you know, as a teenager you really are trusted to do such things, but it feels really empowering when the team trusts you to carry out whatever knowledge you've learned from working within the team.
And you know what, that's really incredible to hear, because I guess being so young, coming into such a huge organisation, you get given some really great projects to work on and things. I want you to kind of think back to day one at Brown Jacobson. How did you feel? What was going through your mind at the time when you first joined Brown Jacobson?
I mean, I suppose honestly I just felt really like privileged, and I felt kind of overwhelmed, if I'm being totally honest. But it was the first time we'd all met, aside from the assessment centre day. But I just sort of felt like a new chapter, and that maybe I could grow here, and like I was excited for the future prospects, because I know they do offer a lot for apprentices.
I did feel a massive imposter syndrome coming that way, truly, because when you go in there and knowing that there had been over 200 applicants and only 5 get selected, it's an incredibly competitive route on its own. Like, you'd think that, okay, it's an alternative to the traditional route, but is it an easier route to get into? So you have all these things like, oh, but now that you're selected, how are you going to actually prove that you're the right candidate? So I did initially struggle a little to just find my foot in the place, but you also go in there with a perception that, okay, this is how you're going to be every single day. And then as time goes by, I think you develop your own skills. You finally learn that, okay, so if you're going to be working with one partner on one particular matter, you're going to adapt to the way they want things done. And throughout that process, you're going to develop your own way of working through things. So I think it was really invaluable the way I really was open to change as time went by, because initially you go in with a fixed mindset, and you shouldn't, because if you think you know how you're going to get organised, you don't. Until you start, you don't.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, doing the apprenticeship, you've been able to gain so many new skills, you know, find out about different particular areas of law that are interesting to you. But in terms of like giving the audience at home some top tips around, you know, coming to apply for a solicitor apprenticeship, kind of think back to when you were applying to Brown Jacobson. What top tips could you give? Maybe we'll take one from each of you to the young people.
I suppose grades aren't everything. I mean, grades are important if you apply for traditional uni,
definitely.
but I know our firm has a CCC requirement, and many of the firms I looked into as well, aside from a few that had ABB. But experiences are just invaluable, and not only doing a lot of them, but how you can really explain them and discuss what you took out of them. You can really, in an interview, you can mould any experience into something relevant if you work hard enough.
I mean, specifically about the interview part of the process, I think it's really important to be yourself throughout the whole interview. Talk, you know, you can have a casual conversation with the interviewer as well as answering the questions and talking about your experiences, but they really want to know what type of person you are, and they want to know what type of person is going to be dealing with this case or this case, and what type of person, the personality you have with your team, if you're going to get along with your team. I think it's a really big part that people don't understand. It's not really a robotic system. They do really want to know what type of person you are and your personality. So being yourself is definitely a big thing.
I think building on that personality, also I really value the firm for this because I know a couple of other firms during their assessment centre, they do take one of the initial steps is the Watson-Glaser test. So for people who don't know what that is, it's a type of law aptitude test where they give you a bunch of questions and it's a bit of verbal reasoning and you try and figure out the best way to do it under timed conditions. But I know Brown Jacobson didn't do that, and I think that's one of the main reasons I got to the final stages of the interviewing process, because I find certain interviewing methods very, very demotivating, like especially under timed conditions. As someone with anxiety, it really, really puts me off the entire thing. So that doesn't mean to say I don't do well in exams, but if that's the whole qualifier as to how you go forward, then I'd say some firms could reconsider that to perhaps appeal to more people. But I know because Brown Jacobson didn't do that, and they really emphasised the personality, not just the grades, it was very helpful, because even in my interviewing stage, I remember I did think that I wouldn't actually get this far, so I don't know, I was quite overwhelmed by that fact, and it was quite incredible.
No, well, look, I mean, all of the advice and kind of knowledge you've shared with us today, it's been really, really valuable. So thank you for kind of joining me on the podcast today. And, you know, also, I'm just so delighted and happy that, you know, you've all got some amazing solicitor apprenticeship programs through being part of Young Professionals. So it's great to have you here on the show. And I wish you all the best in your future careers.
Thank you for having us.
Incredibly
Thank you.
Thank you.